We're recording.
Cool.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of Eastern Current Fishing. Excited about today's episode. Got some more conservation for you today. We're going to talk about an awesome tournament that we're a little late on the podcast sharing it with you, but you still have the opportunity to join. It's going to be, is it 2 weeks long?
Yeah,
2 weeks long. So there's a ton of time to fish here. And it's through CCA. I've got my buddy Mathew here from CCA. We're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk about, kind of his fishing story, talk about how it's brought him to where he is today, how he's been connected with CCA, kind of maybe break a few myths with CCA, some bad taste in some people's mouths. We want people to realize that, they're here fighting for the resource that's all of ours. And so we're going to get into that a little bit, and then we're going to talk fishing. So stay tuned for that. If you do love the podcast, check out the Patreon page linked in the show notes on all the podcast platforms as well as on YouTube in the description. And check out Eastern Current Fishing on Facebook to connect with other listeners. But that's enough of me. How about kind of telling people your backstory of how you got into fishing?
Yeah, man. Well, first off, thanks for having me. And, thanks for doing this podcast, dude.
Definitely.
I think it's helping to bring the angling community together, and it's been fun to watch the reach that you've had out there. So appreciate.
Well, thank you so much.
I grew up in the Chesapeake Bay.
Mm-hmm.
Born and raised. I actually probably got started fishing at, I couldn't even tell you the age. I just remember I was in my dad's, there's baby pictures of me and my dad's like backpack, like camping backpack thing, and he's fly fishing in a creek up in the Shenandoah. So, from a small age, it's always been a thing.
Yeah.
I got to thank my dad for getting me started in the outdoors, because that's, without someone to teach you and get you out there, it's one of those things that a lot of kids might not have the opportunity to do.
Definitely.
I started from a young age, fishing ponds and bass fishing, crappie fishing, anything I could get my hands on. I remember going out with cane poles and worms and just having a ball with friends. So,
yeah.
And it kind of it took off from there. We had access to the Chesapeake Bay, so I was always invited on friends' boats to go out to the bridge tunnel and flounder fish. On the rare occasion growing up, I got an opportunity to go out and cobia fish.
Yeah.
I didn't get into that more. As I got older, I got more into that scene.
Yeah, for sure.
Starting off, man, it was a bottom rig, croaker fishing, spot fishing, bass fishing.
That's awesome.
I didn't even realize you could sight fish a fish till I was like maybe a senior in high school, and I was like, I saw my first redfish and I casted to it and caught it, and I was like, that's just an absolute game changer.
Oh yeah,
that'll ruin you.
It'll ruin you.
It'll ruin you.
Ruin your savings account. It'll ruin a lot of things. I'm sure it's ruined some marriages before.
Yeah, you're done from that point out.
It's crazy. It is a funny time when you start to realize, like, when you transition from, not that there's anything against bottom fishing or bait fishing. I love all of it. But when you transition into like this new, you're like, wait a second, I could go catch a cobia on the bottom on some cut menhaden, or I could maybe see one on the surface and throw it to him, watch him eat it.
Yeah.
It's definitely very, very fun. And the Chesapeake, man, I'm so jealous of that fishery. Y'all have such cool opportunities. Your bull red fishing up there is like kind of like the most underrated red fishing in the world, probably.
It is, and it's all visual.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the fun part about the bay is it's kind of like I don't know how to explain. So growing, like, I miss the bay. There's days where I would move back to the day and any day. But North Carolina, I think Virginia and North Carolina are both unique, and they both have so many different fisheries that happen throughout the season where it's just so fun to jump from one fishery to the next. And like there's guys that bass fishermen, that's their thing. They bass fish. Nothing against that at all, but I'm kind of I enjoy following the seasons.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
when the dogwood's blooming, you go hit the river for shad, or the striper run's about to start. It's that kind of thing. And then
definitely,
like the summer fishery for cobia and the big red drum, and it's so it's fun between the two states. the opportunities are endless.
Yeah, definitely.
Any given day, you can do something else.
Chesapeake Bay feels far away, but fishing the mouth of the Chesapeake from North Carolina, I mean, it's real. I think it's 4.5 hours from Wilmington to get up there. It's really not bad.
Not bad.
I've driven up there an evening, fished the next day, and driven back the next evening. So you could definitely drive. I mean, I don't know. Day trip's probably a little bit
cost you some money. But,
cost some money.
But if
you better put some Kobe in the box if you're doing that.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, it's such a cool fishery, and I haven't really had the opportunity. I think we've caught 2 redfish up there when I've been up there before. Had a small group of them come up on the surface, and we're able to catch some, but mostly just Kobe fishing for me up there. But the spade fish, guys catch massive spade fish, and the tautog in the winter. I mean, it's
insane. Then the striper run. I mean, unfortunately, the striper run's not right now. It's not quite what it used to be.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother topic you get on, but it's still a good fishery.
Yeah, definitely.
Virginia's kind of taking the lead on conservation measures for the bay's fishery. I mean, like Maryland and New York and a few of the other states are I think New York is kind of coming along too, but Virginia's really taking the first steps to, they got rid of the spring fishery where you're targeting those big, breeding 45-inch striped bass, which definitely hurt that area for charter boats and things like that. But those fish are the fish that are producing the stock and keeping the stock healthy. So
yeah, definitely. I'm a big believer of keeping those fish in the water. I mean, there's not going to be a fishery if we take too many of the breeders out of the water.
That's it.
And go catch the big redfish, because there's plenty of those around. I guess it's not the same. It's a different season, different time of year, but
but I mean that says something there too. Like the redfish, we used to not have. You used to be able to keep a big redfish. Yeah. And now everyone knows they're full of worms. They're not necessarily as good as that little 18-inch redfish that you put on the grill, but now look at the schools. You can see, you can go out in the bay and a football field will be boiling with redfish. Yeah. I mean, and that used to be the striper run. You talk like the guys on the Susquehanna Flats way up north. That's all they used to talk about, and I think that fishery's not quite what it used to be. Yeah,
it's sad to hear that story. I forget who it was I had on the podcast when we were talking about. It was Tyler Nahn. Tyler Nahn from up there on the Chesapeake, and he was talking about what the Susquehanna used to be, and he's like, I don't even fish it anymore. It's a bummer, man. It really is, and we just don't want to see that. Sadly, across the whole world, our fisheries are on a decline, and we have the ability in a lot of circumstances to maybe turn that around.
Yeah.
But I feel like there's definitely a breaking point on a lot of fisheries. If we let it go too far, it's going to be a lot harder to get back to what it should be.
Exactly.
Tell me how that love for fishing and growing up in Chesapeake Bay has kind of transferred into your job now. You used to guide a little bit, right? You got in Alaska. And so kind of take me through that process there.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, growing up, the outdoors was really a part of my life. I've never been like, it's funny, if my brother is like complete opposite, huge sports guy. Nothing against sports, but for me, like my idols were always those old timers that were out on the water fishing, and those were the guys I wanted to like learn from. And I've never really, if you ask me who the quarterback on the sports team, I'm probably not gonna be able to tell.
Yeah, I can't say that. I literally got picked on in high school by people in middle school because I knew nothing about sports.
That's never been an interest for me. So it's always been the outdoors, and that's what I've always wanted to kind of focus my life around that. So yeah, I mean, after high school, I was kind of lucky in high school. I got to fish a good bit, but I actually sailed competitively, like up.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, up and down the East Coast. So I got into that, and that took up a lot of weekends. But then I went to college for I studied natural resource conservation at Virginia Tech and minored in forestry. So my passion with the outdoors kind of chose me or took me to that route to study that in college. And I enjoyed it. I spent way too much time on the trout stream up there than I did in the classroom. But the fishery up there is awesome too. And anyway, so that's kind of the route I took. And after college, a dream of mine was to be, to guide a little bit. And I got the opportunity to go to Alaska. After I worked for a forestry company for about 3 years in North Carolina. I was buying and selling timber. and it was a great job. Loved it. I just wasn't. It wasn't like I just wasn't. I didn't feel super passionate about it. So then I went to Alaska, got it out there, had the time of my life. Awesome.
I've been missing that place lately.
Awesome place, man.
Maybe once a year I'll have like these Alaska withdrawals. Same with Montana, where I'm like, I think what I really miss is just the open space out there, like where you can look around. I was having this conversation with a client the other day, and literally, I think I was addicted to being out really far away from other things.
Yeah, there's nobody out there.
There's nobody out there. And I'm like, the only place you can do that here is like running offshore, but it's not the same at all.
And it's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
And the fisheries are amazing.
They are amazing.
100 fish days in Alaska, like every day.
I know grayling's trash fish. Grayling's like catching a pinfish.
They're so cool.
I love grayling. They're incredible. I love them.
Yeah. So,
I'd be the guy over there just trying to catch grayling all day.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember. So you probably know Will Huffine.
Yeah, I know Will well.
Yeah, so I showed up to the lodge for the first day and like.
Oh yeah, because I always forget you were at Tick Chick.
Yeah, Tick Chick. Yeah, so I've never seen that. I'm fired up. So all I want to do is go catch a fish. And Will's like, he's in the cabin right next to me. He's like, yeah, let's go. And there's this place called the Narrows. Yeah. And it's right in front of the lodge. And you can go. It's the craziest thing. It's like. It's the lake is, I don't know how deep it is, but it's really deep. And then there's this shelf. So all of the smolt, like the salmon smolt, will get pushed up over that ledge, and the big char and rainbow trout and you name it just sit right there. And we, like, first hour I was at the lodge, Will took us out there, and it was like the most, we just... Every cast, I was like, "This." Awesome. It blew my mind. I was like, "This is gonna be a fun summer."
And it was probably like 11 o'clock at night too, and still bright outside.
Yeah, you stay out there. Like I remember one night we stayed out till like 4 a.m. I just didn't even look at my
You're
watch.
Just railing.
You don't know.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so cool.
It's fun.
So after Alaska, is that when it brought you to CCA?
Yeah. Yep. So before I left to go to Alaska, I was involved with like a local chapter.
Okay.
Cool. I didn't do
in Virginia.
Actually in North Carolina.
Oh yeah, you were doing the timber.
Yeah, in New Bern. But I wasn't like, I just was helping out with the banquets. As simple as that. But I met some connections through that, and when I got home from Alaska, they had a job position opening up for the Eastern Regional Director. Conservation is something that I'm passionate about, and I applied for the job, and here we are.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's good to have young, fresh faces in these not just CCA, but in these places, in these positions that that's who we need to influence. It's that we're our age group is what's going to be making the decisions
exactly
in the time to come. And I think we finally got an age group that's like
passionate
about seeing something change, because we've seen enough decline in our time, and we've heard way too many stories. It's getting frustrating about what it used to be like. Don't tell me what it used to be like anymore.
Man, they lived it. They
lived it. I remember growing up at Topsail, or not fully growing up there, but my mom had a book of all these old images from Topsail Island, and a bunch of old fishing pictures, and it would be like 30 cobia on the pier, and like all these big dead bull redfish pulled up on the beach. The fishing used to be incredible, and I've talked to this old timer too that is like, oh yeah, we used to all fall. We used to catch bull redfish like inside in the marsh and stuff, and so it's like stuff's changed. There's always going to be change,
right.
but we need to see those numbers staying the same or climbing. It's like we're taking too much out of the water now,
right?
And not putting enough into the water, or not keeping enough in the water, and so kind of reversing that a little bit is what we need. But before we get too much into the conservation side of things, let's dive into this tournament. Kind of tell me about the birth of this tournament and the purpose and how people can be involved.
Yeah, man. So CCA National does a massive star tournament, and they it's cool. They put a tagged redfish in the water, and they have a truck up for grabs and all these boats and thousands of dollars. We're not fortunate enough in North Carolina to get to that point yet, but that's why we wanted to bring a statewide tournament to our state, and start small and build from there. And it's been great to see the progress over this year. So last year we started it in Wilmington. We kind of wanted to keep Wilmington the home base because as much as I know, there's a lot of recreational fishermen down here, and just a lot of anglers. So we kind of chose that as the hub, and last year it went well. We probably only had 25 folks signed up and maybe 12 guys that thoroughly fish the event. But this year, we've stepped up the game with some marketing and spreading the word and really getting the word out there, and it's been awesome. We've got, I think, right at 60 adults signed up, and we had a donor donate 30 youth memberships to CCA. So if a kid signs up for the tournament, they get a actual full membership to
Nice. That's
CCA.
awesome.
So yeah, that's pretty cool. So we've got 12 youth fishing so far. So yeah, it's been good to see where it's gone. But yeah, a little bit about the tournament. So it's called the Inshore Open, and right now it is just so the scoring is based on 3 red drum and 3 flounder. So your 3 largest red drum and your 3 largest flounder. But tonight at the Caps party, we're going to take a vote, and I'm going to say how many guys want to add trout. I want trout in there.
Yeah.
And if the hands go up, we're going to put trout
I like it.
back in there. So we'll see how that works out. But yeah, so it's all through the iAngler app, which is just a unique way of running the tournament. It basically eliminates a weighing station, eliminates all of that hassle. So it's so simple. All you have to do, everyone has a cell phone.
Yeah.
Go out, go fish. As soon as you catch a fish, we give you a wristband. Make sure your wristband's on in the picture. It can be on your wrist in the picture or just lay it next to the fish. Doesn't matter. Yeah. Catch your fish, put it on a standard ruler or any sort of device that can measure a fish, and take a picture. And then you upload that picture into the iAngler app, and it automatically puts you into a scoring system. So you can literally see, like, if you catch a 22-inch flounder and enter it in, you might go from fifth place, and you might jump up to third place, and it's like live, so you'll see it.
Yeah, that's fun.
So it's cool. Yeah, you're competing out there, and it's just all in live feed. So yeah, it's cool. It'll be cool to watch.
That will be super fun to watch, and it keeps you fired up on the water.
Yeah,
you have first place, and somebody bumps you out with a nice flounder or redfish. Man.
Yeah, makes you want to go out and fish a little bit harder the next.
Maybe next year we can have some camera crews on the boats.
That's my plan. Yeah, I want to
get the final day
for sure.
That'd be fun.
Sure. Yeah, there's always room for improvement.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's super cool. Is there a Spanish mackerel division too?
Yeah, sorry. So
Cameron was saying something about that. I
just
wanted to.
So there is Spanish. So we've got like TWTs, and we're not going to make you pay extra to get into them. So it's biggest trout, biggest speckled trout, biggest red drum, biggest flounder, and biggest Spanish mackerel. So
sweet.
All at any given time, say you didn't sign up for the tournament in time, so you're jumping in like a week into it. No big deal. I mean, it's one cast and you won the biggest trout.
Yeah, for sure.
Biggest drum. So there's plenty of opportunity for folks to win some cool prizes, and we're also going to do things like I have the ability through the iAngler app to say, hey, the next person that catches a sheep's head is going to win an Engle cooler.
Oh, sweet.
So
cool.
We're going to throw like little prizes in throughout the whole event just to keep everybody excited, interested, and to give some prizes to guys that
might not have won the full thing. Yeah, because I'm sweeping the tournament. I'm just kidding. I'm excited to fish it. So is it artificial? Is it artificial bait? Can you fish whatever?
Man, yeah. We as of right now. We're just it's whatever right now.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think
so. Yeah, we wanted to keep it kind of broad just to get with COVID, a lot of people are sitting in their homes and try to give them something to do. Get out of the water and enjoy the resource. So
definitely, that's awesome. Are there some prizes that you can share that people might be able to win?
You can even hold that up in front of the. I don't know if y'all can see that, but there's.
It's gonna be blurry if I hold it up front.
Yeah, it's
we got a Traeger grill. I need a new Traeger grill. Mine's rusting out pretty bad. Sorry, Traeger.
Yeah.
Minn Kota Riptide. We got a power pole. I need that as well. So hopefully I'll win the Traeger and the power pole. The Garmin Echo Map. We got some Daiwa reels. We've got some TFO fly and spinning rods. Engel 50 gift cards. TFO fly, another fly rod. DJI Mavic Air.
Yeah.
Nice. Garmin GPS 742. Yeah, there's some awesome prizes in here.
Paddleboard. Then another thing we wanted to do was
paddleboard. I didn't even see that.
Yeah, another thing we wanted to do was kind of give back to the local community too. And we left. So basically, there's 3 tiers of prizes. If you win first place, you get a pick out of the prizes on first place, and one of the prizes is a $1,000 gift card to a local tackle shop of your choice.
Sweet.
So that kind of, if you win that and you choose that option, then you get to go and spend $1,000 at a local tackle shop.
That's awesome.
And kind of
that's really cool.
Give back too. So
yeah, that's one thing I see all these like big online tackle stores popping up, and it makes me I'm not nervous, but it's like definitely try to support your local tackle shop when you can, because they're the ones that are answering questions day to day and on top of the fishery and want you to be out there catching fish.
Exactly.
So that's huge. Yeah, that I don't know what I'd pick. I think I'd go with the black power pole.
I would too. My boat's in need of one.
Yeah,
I don't have the money to muster up to get one, but man, it's a dream. That and a Minn Kota trolling motor is just it's changed the game.
It does change the game, man. I badly need one on my skiff. I don't have one, and can't tell how many times I just kind of like shove it up in the oysters when we're landing a fish, and I'm like, all right, I'll get a power pole next year. And
all you have to do is hit a button.
Yeah, exactly. I borrowed a buddy's skiff a couple weeks ago when I was having to get my motor serviced, and he had a power pole, and I was like, you don't realize how much you want one until you have one, or how much you need one, or would use one. Yeah, and especially like the cool thing about a power pole is like when you're working into an area fishing. And especially in the spring and winter, like when there's schools of fish, and you finally get to that spot where you can hit the fish, you can stop yourself right there, and it's clutch. And with the push, not make a lot of noise, and just be real stealthy.
No doubt.
Combined with the trolling motor is pretty huge. But let's. Is there anything else about the tournament?
Man, that's really it. That covers it. This is live right now. The tournament actually starts tonight, so it's probably not going to get out in time. But yeah, we're having a captain's party at Avalanche Motorsports tonight at 6 p.m.
And that's on Market Street here in Wilmington, right?
Yeah, you're more familiar with Wilmington than I am, but yeah, where the street with all the boat dealerships.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. Market Street.
Yep.
Cool. Is Avalanche a boat?
Yeah.
Place? Okay.
Yeah. So they're new. They're actually based out of Washington, but they're shout out to them. They're the big financial sponsor for the tournament for us. So awesome. Definitely go by and see those guys.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll be there tonight. I'm going to try to get this podcast up as soon as we're done recording it, so that a few people might be able to hear it.
Cool.
But yeah, so cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about CCA in general, and kind of, maybe some people have a bad taste in their mouth. I think a lot of our listeners are on board with CCA and what CCA is trying to do, but every time CCA is mentioned, somebody, it seems like on Facebook, or not on here, but just in general, it's like somebody wants to say they hate CCA and all this, but kind of break that barrier for us, if you will.
For sure.
Change everyone's mind and make them love CCA.
Yeah. My time. I guess I got to shine here.
I'm just kidding.
No, but there's a bad for some reason, especially in North Carolina. There's a bad light on CCA. I mean, nationally, CCA is doing some unbelievable things. They're putting a lot of habitat back into not only estuarine systems but offshore too. Mm-hmm. So they do a lot of great things and do a lot for the youth and get kids out on the water fishing. So nobody can be mad at that.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool. But as for North Carolina, we've had a tough go. We've kind of for 30 some years. I'm fairly new, but for 30 some years, there's been a battle, you could say, out there for the resource, and I think somehow down that road, CCA has gotten a bad light, and I don't know if it's. I wouldn't necessarily say it's anything that we've done, but it's somehow we've been portrayed in a way that we're trying to end. One thing we always hear is we're trying to end commercial fishing, which is not the case. I would almost argue that we're trying to not save commercial fishing, but keep commercial fishing viable for generations to come. Certain aspects of commercial fishing. Yeah. So, and same for, it's just they want to look. CCA wants to look out for the resource as a whole, and they want sustainable fisheries for the future and for today. I mean, there's like you got to manage fisheries with. No one does it, but you got to manage it with like a rainy day fund. It's just like your bank account. Like say, you know, when you're looking at your bank account, you want to at the end of the month you want a little bit of money left over.
Right.
And we should be looking at our fisheries the same way. We want more fish in the water, and to do that, we might have to manage with a port, you know, with some excess that we know will get us to the next year and keep that fish stock.
Yeah, climbing. Hopefully climbing.
Yeah,
too.
climbing, exactly.
Yeah, that's huge. That was not a fart, by the way. That was my leg on the chair. It just made a. Just wanted to clarify that. Yeah, it's sad, man. Like so many people want to point their finger and say this about CCA or say this about commercial fishermen, but really, it's like we all just need to be here for the resource. I mean, if the resource isn't here, the commercial fishermen aren't going to survive. Recreational fishermen are going to have nothing to fish for. And fishing guides aren't going to be able to work.
The whole coastal community's gone.
Yeah.
If we don't have the fish, Eastern North Carolina's not going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. It's we just have so much potential, and to see it dwindling like this just breaks my heart. I mean, I really want to see a bounce back for us. So. What are some ways that people that are like, hey, I care about the fishery, I care about conservation, what can they do, like through CCA and maybe even other ways that you know that people can get involved, and where can they just kind of expand on that?
Yeah,
expand on that
for sure. You know, I would say that's the tough part is people don't know how to get involved. They don't know where to get involved, and there's only but so much that we can do, but there's also a lot we can do. I mean. Just like this, the more people start talking about the issues, you know, it's going to come to a point where they're going to be brought up in the legislature, and there's going to have to be a turning point where North Carolina is going to have to start managing for the resource instead of overall harvest. The more people that talk about these issues, the better off we're going to be. So I would say, you know, don't be afraid to, you know, talk about some of the things that we all know is wrong with our fisheries here in North Carolina. I mean, you know, other states Florida, Louisiana, Texas, they've all gotten to a point where, you know, their fisheries are pretty steady. I mean, they've got other issues. You look at Florida, they've got just water quality issues that are issues that we don't necessarily have. I mean, I would say, you know. North Carolina's water quality, you'll get some folks that say it's in terrible shape, but I would argue that it's got its flaws and it's definitely an issue. But you look at Florida and some of these other states, we're nowhere as worse off as they are.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah, so I mean, it's definitely an issue, but you know, it's I mean, North Carolina's got the potential to be a fishery like Florida, if not better. I mean, our trout fishing should be ranked up there as it's gonna be. If it could eventually be the number one destination to come catch trout.
Yeah,
numbers, and size. I mean,
it should be. Yeah. I mean, it really should be the best trout fishery in the world.
I can't even tell you the number, but I think we have like over 2 million acres of inland estuary water, which nowhere else on the East Coast has that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, nobody. So that's like that's a spawning ground for game fish and for juvenile fish to grow up and survive. So I mean, it's North Carolina has the habitat and has the resource. We just need to manage it the right way.
Definitely. It's an incredible state with a lot of water that has not the correct amount of fish right now. But exactly. Man, you talk to guys down in Texas, and they're blown away. You look at the Pamlico Sound and the estuaries among the Pamlico Sound, and that's a breeding ground for massive trout and for numbers of trout. And they have a hard time surviving there with everything that goes on. And the one thing we deal with that Texas doesn't deal with as well is the cold snaps and the kills. I mean, they do have those in Texas, but we definitely are a little more sustained, or we have a better chance of colder temperatures.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's impressive. So fishing up in your area, how is the puppy drum fishing, like the red fishing in New Bern and lower Pamlico Sound?
It's interesting. It's funny. So back in, I think you probably remember, I think it was 2018, we had that huge cold snap.
Yeah.
Statewide.
Yeah.
And that hammered the puppy drum
Yeah.
population in the Neuse River, at least. I don't know. I can't speak for you guys, but I'm sure it did down here too. But in the trout population, obviously. But yeah, so it's funny this year they're coming back. We're catching a lot of 18 to 26, 30-inch puppy drum, which last year and the year before you could maybe find a little 15, 14-inch puppy drum in the river. So it's cool to see that come back.
Yeah.
And the trout fishery this winter was just an epic. I mean, just epic.
Yeah.
And it brought and that's what in North, at least for the tar and the Pamlico and the Neuse, there was a net ban above the ferry line. So that right there in itself took a lot of pressure off the resource. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say that that's why we had such an epic trout fishery this year. I would say that the hurricane season, the past 4 years, Florence took a huge amount of pressure off of the fishery, both recreationally and commercially. I mean, you got to look. Some of the commercial guys couldn't go out and fish, couldn't fish their nets, or they had to work on their houses or build their community back up, so they weren't on the water.
Right.
So, but that little bit of pressure taken off the resource has led to what we just saw this winter to be the best trout season. Most guys could arguably say was the best in years. I mean, it was.
I mean, it was like go throw a paddle tail soft plastic anywhere and just get annihilated.
Yeah.
Or a mirror lure.
And so many. I mean, the boat ramps were full, man. So you got to think about all that income coming into those coastal communities. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah, there was just Riches Inlet alone. There was probably $5,000 worth of gas burned every weekend just to get to Riches Inlet here in Wilmington, North Carolina. There were so many boats.
Ice, tackle.
It's crazy, and I really hope we see that again this year. I think it'll be a telltale sign of did we take too many fish out of the water?
Right.
Because we should have a better year than we had this past year.
For sure. We should.
Or at least as good of a year as we had. I mean, maybe it can never get better than that, but I would like to think that it could.
I think it could. I think it should.
And one of the arguments I've seen, it was even published in a paper, and at a public hearing that I was at, this guy was driving this home, and it was a commercial fisherman, very nice guy, but he was kind of making this argument that, all these recreational anglers are saying because we banned nets above the ferry line, that's why we've had such a good trout year. And my argument against that is there was a good trout year everywhere. It had nothing to do with that net ban right then. But what happened was New River, specifically, which is an area that I fish a lot, it got completely netted out. There was no fish left to catch when y'all were still crushing them in the Neuse, up above that ferry line.
Right.
Y'all were still catching, limits of fish every day. And to go catch 4 or 5 trout in the New River was tough because there were net boats everywhere. Along with a lot of recreational anglers taking out. At that point, everyone's putting too much pressure on the resource. Right. So
exactly.
That's kind of I've been wanting to share that on here because that's my answer. I've had people ask me about that. And, that net ban has definitely helped keep more fish in the water.
Exactly. It's kept more fish in the water and taken a lot of the pressure off those fish. So you look at Alaska. I don't know the exact number, but they've got a system to allow those salmon to get up. They have, I don't know, the gates or whatever they use to count the salmon coming up the river.
Yeah.
They shut the commercial fishery down as soon as they know they've harvested to their quota, because they have to allow maybe over 50% of those fish to get upriver to spawn, so that way they have a viable fishery year after year.
Yeah.
So it's the same for it could be the same for trout. We gotta let some of those fish come in the river, and then we gotta let them live in the river in the winter and not get wrapped up.
Right.
Recreational fishermen put a lot of pressure on the resource too, but not as much. So so we gotta let those fish get back out, and we gotta let them go spawn. And then they'll come back.
I think what's fair is to give everyone an MR-17.
Yeah.
And then you get if you're a commercial fisherman, recreational fisherman,
yeah.
The way it's been, you should be able to catch 75 trout on an MR-17 if you're good, or 17 MR, whatever you want to call it.
Exactly. It's no one's in the business. No one wants to put anybody out of business.
No, definitely not. But it's when it's a resource, a natural resource that belongs to everybody, it's got to be managed for everybody. And honestly, screw recreational fishermen, screw commercial fishermen, screw everybody. We should focus. That's very harsh to say, but the resource should be what we're focused on taking care of. Right. You know what I mean?
Right. And if you do that, the resource, if it gets to the point where it needs to be, it'll give back to everybody.
Exactly.
It'll provide.
That's what it's designed to be.
Right.
So
it just comes down to simple, sustainable management, and unfortunately, it's gotten too political over the years. And once it gets in politics, it's kick the can down the road. Yeah. And then that's where we're at in North Carolina right now. But there's a lot of hope, and if everybody holds on tight, I think there'll be some changes.
Definitely. One thing that's kind of a buddy from Alamorada, Florida, called me one time. It's a buddy that I lived with when I lived in Louisiana. When we were I think me and my buddy Alan Kane were talking about the netting that goes on here and the frustrations with it. And he was talking about how as fish travel to different states, they should be federally protected. Right. And these speckled trout, like so many of our speckled trout that are tagged here, are caught up in Chesapeake Bay
and South Carolina.
South Carolina. So they're moving through state water. Same with redfish, same with cobia, all these fish.
Yeah.
So it's like, they're not just our fish. They're not North Carolina's trout. Most trout that are caught here, we don't have very many resident trout in North Carolina.
Right.
That's what makes our summer trout fishing so much tougher, because we don't really have any summering fish here. So
yeah, it's funny. I would say, at least for the Neuse River right now, all the rain and it's so hot in the middle of summer, there's a lot of fish do move out in the sound to spawn, but I think a lot of our fish move up to the Outer Banks.
Yeah.
I think they're up in Wanchese, because man, I was up in backside of Wanchese, not to burn anybody's spot, but we were tearing trout up there a few weeks ago. And the Neuse River is it's not the trout bite in the Neuse River right now is just not that strong, because fish fish don't have a fence that they live in. They move.
Definitely. The water stays a little cooler up there too,
there for sure, because it's closer to that. And you get the fresh, you get the salt, the inlet, so you're getting a lot of that moving water.
Yeah, that less stagnant water.
The Neuse River is wind-driven tide. There's not a single ripple of a tide in the Neuse River. Right. It's all wind-driven, and it is the weird. I've grown up on Chesapeake Bay. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I first moved there, I had the hardest time figuring out that fishery.
Yeah.
But then just persistence that's all it takes. Time on the water, and fishing. Time on the water is all it is.
Yeah.
Just get out there. But
it really is all it is.
But for the bay, it's completely different. The bay is clear water with big grass flats, and the Neuse River is just dark, stained water. You look at it, you're like, damn, where are these fish supposed to be?
Exactly. There's no current.
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm supposed to cast.
Yeah. Everything looks the same.
Everything looks the exact same. How has y'all's striper fishery been up there this summer?
It's coming back, and that's due 100% to the nets.
Yeah.
Being out above the ferry line, because those fish, everybody knows, they spawn upriver.
Yeah.
You gotta let them get up there, and you gotta let them come back.
They gotta make it to that rocky substrate.
They gotta make it, and they almost go all the way up to Raleigh. Captain Will.
Yeah.
I think he's got that dialed in pretty good. He's doing a lot on the tar now, but yeah, those fish go all the way up to Raleigh, and then they come all the way back down to New Bern, and New Bern can be epic. I was out with me and MJ Miller went out.
Yeah.
I was coming back from Raleigh, and he called. It was like 7 o'clock. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like,
"In the morning or in the
evening?" In the evening. He's like, "What are you doing?" I was like, "Pulling in my driveway from Raleigh." He's like, "Man, I'm like got the itch. I want to feel like a thump." And I was like, "Let's go fish." So we put the boat in right near my house and went into New Bern, and there's just so much old structure, all these old industry that was along the river right there.
All the dock piling, old dock piling.
And anyways, we didn't bring anything but top water, and wasn't epic. I think it's a little hot, so that bite was a little slow, but I had a good blow up, and then he caught a nice. Like a 26, 27 inch rockfish.
Heck yeah.
So yeah, that fishery's coming back for sure. And
definitely. That
fishery has the potential to be a really good fishery for the Neuse River and for the Tar and the Pamlico River.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing about the Neuse, I fished it with Brian Saunders the most recently that I fished it.
Yeah, he's the man.
He's so cool. He's so stoked. You might not be excited about your fish, but he's excited about your fish.
Oh, no doubt.
But we whacked the stripers, and then we whacked the trout, and we caught a couple redfish, but the ability to go out and catch like 20 stripers on topwater and then turn around and go catch, like 20 or 30 trout on mirror lures or hard baits. I mean, that's strong. That's good fishing.
And then catch a largemouth bass and a chain pickerel. And go, a little bit upriver, you catch crappie and both in. Awesome. And it's just weird.
It is weird.
I mean, I've caught bass and trout within 2 casts.
That's cool.
So,
have you caught any big largemouth? Not massive, but quality largemouth.
Yeah, probably like a 4-pound largemouth.
Nice. That's awesome.
Not like a giant, but there's Neuse River's it's a cool fishery.
It is a cool fishery.
Once you figure it out, but I think a lot of people have a hard time. I mean, I'll say it. I had a hard time when I first moved there. I was like, it was just it's a different fishery.
Yeah, I think every time as an angler you learn a new, very different fishery from what you're used to, a new fishery like that. I mean, it leaps and bounds. It extends your knowledge and like your ability to go into a new fishery and learn it quicker.
Yeah.
So like going to these places, like, I mean, from Wilmington, people should. I know some guys. I mean, it's easy to make a day trip to New Bern to go fish.
No doubt.
I mean, what's the drive time down here?
It took me from my house like hour 45.
Hour 45, yeah. So it's there's really nothing to it. I mean, a morning drive up here, fish for 3/4 day, and drive back, and you're at home before dinner. So
and I've done it for you guys too. I've come down and I've go down south towards Southport and used to do a lot of flood tide fishing now.
Yeah, definitely so it's a quick little drive. I think that a lot of people here in Wilmington, I hope that they will take advantage of some of these coastal rivers that are north of us, because there's some really cool fishing, very different fishing from the New River all the way up to Bay River, Pamlico River, Roanoke. I mean, Roanoke, that's a drive, but I've actually done that for a day trip before to the mouth of the Roanoke from Wilmington.
Yeah, even up to the Outer Banks, man. The Outer Banks has a unique fishery too.
Definitely.
And that's what I mean. That's like what I was saying earlier. There's not one fishery where I'm like, that's the one. As the seasons change, I'm changing with it.
Right. Me too. I want to get up there and fish with who am I talking about? Never mind. I'm gonna completely just lost track of what I was talking about.
We'll think of it.
I don't want to embarrass myself here. Well, cool. So we've talked about the tournament. We've talked about conservation. We've talked about your story. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we want to hit on. We're already at 41 minutes, which is crazy how quickly especially when you're talking with a buddy, it just flows really quickly.
Time flies.
Me and Cameron used to be good at flying through it. Now we just can't even make conversation with each other.
Yeah, nice to have a new face.
A new face. It's like, what can we say about topwater fishing today?
Yeah.
So,
sure.
Well, cool. Tell me about what was your last trip out on the water? You just got a new boat.
Yeah. So it's crazy. I can talk about boats for a little bit too if you want me to.
Tell me about your new rig.
Yeah. So I mean, I started off, growing up on the Chesapeake Bay, I didn't have anything, didn't have a lot of money, so basically whatever I could get, that's what I was using. So I grew up on this little, it was like a boat that I bought from a Native American it was actually in West Point on the Mathew River. It's this old bully boat, kind of like a dead rise, like that classic Chesapeake Bay dead rise. And man, that boat took me in places I should have never taken it to. It was only 16 feet and had an old 2-stroke that it wouldn't start sometimes. I'd have to take the cowling off and tap on the starter to go. And I
out in the Chesapeake Bay.
Out in the Chesapeake Bay, and I've got a crazy story. I was out there with a buddy one time. We were going duck hunting in this marsh, like from my house. It was should have never been going out there, but we did. And we get out there and had a good morning duck hunting, but my tilt and trim was broke on the boat, so I anchored the boat a little bit kind of shallower, and anyways the motor got caught in the sand and the waves were so bad that while I was in the marsh hunting that morning, couldn't see the boat. Come back out and the boat is sunk underwater. The only thing you can see is the steering wheel.
Oh my god.
So
total the motor?
No. I literally had an extra gas can in the boat, and I cut the gas can in half. And this is in January, freezing cold. And
shoot some ducks first?
Yeah, we shot a couple ducks. It wasn't a record morning,
right?
So it was all worth it in the end, I guess. But had to cut the gas can in half to use to bail out the boat. So my buddy's holding the bow up, so no the waves wouldn't come in the boat. I'm back there with a gas can, just trying to get the water out of the boat.
Oh my goodness!
Got it started. didn't have a lot of gas, straight shot home. So anyways.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I don't even know how I got on that, but.
Everyone's gonna have stories. If you spend the amount of time on the water like Mathew has or like I have, you have some stories that are sometimes you want to share them, sometimes you don't want to share them.
Yeah, people are probably gonna make fun of me for that one, but
I'll do you one better. I've actually dumped a flat skiff out on the concrete on a boat ramp before. So if you want to make fun of him for that, make fun of me for dumping. It was a cheaper. It was like a $7,000 like little simple flat skiff, but. It wasn't my Maverick. I've actually gotten pretty close to dumping my Maverick out on the concrete before.
That's what
my buddy had a brand new 18V in Louisiana. And have you been to Hopedale?
Not yet. I want to go.
So the road that you drive into Hopedale is the road here, and the ramp literally just comes off the side of the road, like the main road.
Yeah.
And so he loaded his boat up. I hope he never listens to this podcast. and pulls up. Or he talks to someone. This is the same thing that happened to me. Like someone comes up, you start talking over the trailer tongue for a little while. You'd already pulled the boat up.
You're not paying attention.
And then you're like, all right, let's go. And you go hop in the truck, and you never even winched it or anything. So he did that and just laid his boat in the middle of the main road, like completely across it. And they had to drag it back into the water to get it back on the trailer.
God,
so man. It was like a brand new East Cape Vantage too.
That hurt.
It was no. It was Maverick 18V. That's what it was.
That hurt.
But yeah, that was a painful one. There's some great stories there. Did you see that? That qualified captain this morning. This is the last thing I'm going to bring up with the dog.
No, I don't know if I've seen that one.
If you're listening, go look at qualified captain right now and check out the one with the dog on the bow of the boat. And that's all I'm going to say. So,
but I don't know. Yeah, I guess for boats. So
we just got on a crazy tangent right there.
Yeah, sorry. We did for sure. But no, I had an 18-foot privateer that I fished for a long time. Love that boat.
Did you sell that boat?
Sold it.
Gotcha.
So I just sold it and found a killer deal on a 20-foot Seahawks with a covey tower on top. So that's the new sled. And then I grew up with a little 13-foot canoe that I used to kind of get around some marshes in the bay and stuff like that. But it was flipped over in my dad's backyard for years while I was off at college and wherever.
Yeah.
So I got back home, got that, brought it back down here, and I've gutted it out.
I've been enjoying watching the process.
Yeah, gutted it out and put a casting platform on the bow, fiberglassed it in, same with the stern, and got a little grab bar for the middle, and put fly rod holders in there. So that's gonna be I'll have the tower boat and then
that's perfect.
The mini skiff.
That's awesome.
The mini skiff. So I'm trying to cover my bases.
Yeah, definitely. I always say every man needs about 5 boats.
That's it.
There's a boat for everything they want to do. There really is. And there's no single boat for everything.
No.
But man, that's cool. That I like that the Seahawks, right?
Seahawks.
Does it have wood? Is it a wood floor? Did they redo the floors?
Yeah. So it's actually in 1979.
Okay.
And they rebuilt it in 2014. Did the custom tower, redid the floors. They put a giant fish box in the forward portion of the boat. Yeah. So
where did you find this boat? Where was it?
It was actually in Greenville.
Really?
But yeah, and the story with those Seahawks is so Seahawks was around for a long time. Then something happened. I'm not sure what. And then a guy named, his last name's Pear, so Pear Marine, he came and bought the mold and started producing the boats. And he actually got sued by Seafox. And I hope I'm saying this all right.
Yeah, this is what I've heard as well.
But yeah, so he got sued by Seafox. So he had to change his name to Pear. But they're great boats, and the new boats that they're making are. They're high-end, awesome boats, $80,000 boats. But yeah, I picked mine up for way less than that.
That's awesome.
But it's a little bit older.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, those boats are sweet, man. I would like to. I'd like to get one of those Pear Marines or one of those new Seahawks. It's the same boat.
Yeah.
They're really all those hulls are so similar. The Parker, the Seahawks,
sure.
the Seahawk, the Maycraft, the Jones brothers.
Yeah,
very little privateer, very little difference. I think the prettiest lines are the privateers, though.
I do too.
Just those low gunnels in the back make me nervous offshore, but
yeah,
they're sweet boats.
I'm mad at myself for selling it. I wish I could have held on to that one, but one day when I'm a little older, I'll buy one and restore it.
Yeah, I would like to do the same thing, but. Well, cool, man. Well, I think that's all we're going to touch on today. We'll definitely have to do some more stuff together and be on the lookout on what's your Instagram, because I don't have it on here.
Yeah. So it's just CCA.
Okay. Cool.
So look that up. You can follow us for the 2 weeks that this tournament's open. We'll be posting stuff every day, and like I was saying earlier, we'll have prizes come out maybe every other day. So definitely stay in the loop, stay up to date, so you don't miss out on winning those prizes.
Yeah.
And if you want to get involved, we're trying to build a chapter here in Wilmington. We've got a good group of guys, and we're always looking for more. So if you're old, young, doesn't matter. Female, it doesn't matter. We'd love to have you. If fishing's something you're passionate in, and you want to make a difference for the resource, look us up online, Facebook, Instagram. Drop a line to Jud. He can get you in the right direction. So
definitely, yeah. Keep a lookout on my Instagram as well for other updates on if they're going to do another tournament or anything like that. So. And I'll keep you all updated as well as I am updated on what's going on with the CCA. So thanks again, man, for coming on, and we're gonna have to fish together sometime.
Yeah,
we've fished near each other, around each other, but we've never fished together
on the same boat.
Yeah, on the same boat.
We'll make it happen.
We'll have to do it, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Well, guys, thanks for checking it out, and stay tuned. Don't stay tuned. Just check us out next time later. I don't know what you're gonna stay tuned.